In every circle, whether in relationships, careers, or social power, one truth stands above all: people only value what they believe they cannot lose. Yet most men make the fatal mistake of giving themselves away too cheaply. They over-explain, over-give, and over-expose themselves, and in return, they are treated as disposable. Human nature has a cruel simplicity. We dismiss what is abundant, and we worship what is rare. Scarcity is the mother of value. It has nothing to do with the true worth of a person, an object, or even an idea. Value is assigned not by intrinsic merit, by the perception of how difficult it is to obtain. Diamonds are nothing more than compressed carbon, yet they are coveted because they are presented as rare. The same principle governs human relationships, social hierarchies, and the respect you command from others. When you are always available, when your time and energy are given without restraint, you condition others to believe that you cost nothing. If you are easy to reach, easy to convince, and easy to keep around, then you are unconsciously telling the world that you are abundant, that you are replaceable. And people instinctively treat what is replaceable as disposable. This is why many men find themselves ignored, overlooked, or treated as afterthoughts. Because they have destroyed their own value through overexposure. Scarcity operates not just in the material world, but deeply in the psychological one. When a person has to wait for you, when they cannot predict your responses, when they do not know when they will have access to you again, their desire for you multiplies. Think of how a child reacts to a toy that is suddenly hidden away. The child may have ignored it when it was in plain sight, but once it is removed, it becomes the most important thing in the room. Adults are no different. The mind is wired to chase what is withheld. This is why the art of scarcity is not about withdrawing completely, but about controlling presence with precision. You must learn to appear in moments of impact, to speak when your words will resonate most, to give when your offering will be felt deeply. If you scatter yourself across every request and every demand, you drain yourself of mystery. But if you withhold, if you step back, if you let silence linger, then your eventual return has weight. Every gesture, every glance, every word will feel amplified because it was not easily acquired. Scarcity creates contrast, and contrast breeds meaning. Imagine if the sun never set and the world was in constant daylight. The warmth and brilliance of the sun would lose all significance. It is the cycle of day and night that makes us revere its rise each morning. In the same way, your constant presence becomes a dull light, unnoticeable and unvalued. Your strategic absence is like nightfall. It sharpens awareness and stirs anticipation for your return. There is also a deeper dimension. Scarcity fosters dependency. When people realize they cannot have you whenever they want, they begin to rearrange their behavior to keep your presence. They think twice before offending you. They compete for your time. They measure their words carefully in your company. By simply controlling your accessibility, you command silent authority over those around you. You force them to work harder to secure your attention, and in the process, they invest themselves emotionally in your presence. The more they invest, the more they value. Consider how empires, leaders, and rulers have manipulated scarcity to build their aura. Great kings did not walk the streets every day mingling with the masses. They made themselves distant, appearing rarely and only in moments of power, dressed in splendor, surrounded by symbols of authority. Their rarity made their image sacred. Their people trembled with awe, not because the rulers were inherently divine, but because they were inaccessible. Inaccessibility is one of the greatest illusions of power. Scarcity also applies in the realm of speech. If you talk endlessly, explaining every thought, defending every move, you dilute your own influence. But if you choose your words with restraint, if you allow silence to dominate more than speech, then every phrase you utter carries weight. People lean in, waiting for what you will say next. They replay your sentences in their minds because you do not flood them with noise. The fewer your words, the greater their power. The same is true in relationships. The one who always texts first, who always calls, who always adjusts their schedule, is the one who loses value. Scarcity requires patience and discipline. You must allow others to feel your absence. You must let them wonder what occupies your time, what consumes your energy, what thoughts live behind your silence. The mind fills the unknown with imagination, And imagination magnifies your worth far beyond what explanation could achieve. Scarcity is not coldness, nor is it cruelty. It is strategy. It is the understanding that human beings crave what is beyond their reach. And once it is easily within their grasp, they discard it without hesitation. If you want to be valued, if you want others to beg for your presence, then you must master the art of withholding. Show yourself just enough to ignite desire, then withdraw before familiarity poisons it. Make every appearance feel like a privilege, not a guarantee. Authority is not begged for, nor is it granted by permission. Authority is seized, imposed, and upheld by the way you conduct yourself in the presence of others. The greatest mistake men make is thinking that they must argue, explain, or prove their worth with words. Words are cheap. They flow too easily, and the more you speak, the less weight your presence carries. Authority is never found in noise. It is found in silence and control. Silence is not emptiness. It is a weapon. When you choose silence, you deny others access to your inner world. You rob them of the ability to read your thoughts, to anticipate your intentions, to grasp your vulnerabilities. People fear what they cannot understand, and they respect what they cannot fully know. The man who speaks constantly is predictable, transparent, and ultimately powerless. The man who restrains his tongue, who lets silence answer questions, who holds his composure even under pressure, he unsettles others, and in that unsettling, he becomes dominant. Control begins with the self. You cannot command others if you are a slave to your own impulses. The one who reacts emotionally, who rushes to defend, who feels compelled to justify, reveals weakness every time he opens his mouth. Authority requires stillness, a calculated calmness that refuses to be pulled into the chaos of another's energy. When you are in control of yourself, you immediately gain control over others, because most people are ruled by their emotions. They will try to provoke you, to test you, to unravel you. When you remain unshaken, you silently declare superiority. Think of the figure of the ruler who sits on his throne while petitions are shouted before him. He does not shout back. He does not explain. He observes in silence, and his silence itself becomes judgment. His calm posture, his deliberate gaze, his refusal to speak unless necessary, all these force those around him to treat him as higher, as set apart. Authority is a performance of restraint, not indulgence. In conversations, the one who speaks least often controls the flow. Every word becomes precious because it is rare. People lean closer, they study your expressions, they wait for your approval or your rejection. By holding silence, you create anticipation. By choosing when and how to break it, you shape perception. If you speak without control, others take your words for granted. If you speak with discipline, your words echo long after you leave. There is also power in withholding explanations. Most people feel compelled to explain why they acted, why they said what they said, why they made certain decisions. They expose their reasoning in hopes of being understood. But authority does not beg to be understood. Authority allows mystery to stand unchallenged. When you make a choice and refuse to justify it, others must live with the uncertainty. They must interpret, speculate, and guess. This guessing game elevates you because it places you beyond their full comprehension. The unknown always feels larger than the known, and so your influence expands. Even in conflict, silence and control are the highest forms of strength. If someone insults you and you respond with anger, you validate them. If you rush to defend yourself, you confirm their attack has power. But if you absorb the moment in silence, with eyes steady and demeanor unshaken, you reverse the dynamic. The one who attacks you becomes smaller, desperate to force a reaction, while you grow larger in restraint. Authority is not about defeating every voice raised against you. It is about showing that no voice can disturb your composure. Control extends beyond silence into posture, presence, and timing. The way you enter a room, the way you sit, the way you pause before speaking, all of these silently declare authority before a single word is spoken. When you move with deliberation, never rushing, never scrambling, you create the sense that time bends around you. Others adapt themselves to your pace, waiting on your cues. The one who controls time controls the room. Silence also creates fear, and fear is a close ally of respect. When people cannot predict how you will respond, when they cannot read your inner world, they become cautious. They choose their words more carefully. They watch their behavior. They fear your judgment even when unspoken. This is not cruelty. It is strategy. You are shaping the psychological terrain so that your presence is always treated with gravity. Authority through silence and control is not passive. It is active dominance disguised in restraint. It is the choice to wield absence of words as a sharper blade than excess of them. It is the awareness that every reaction either elevates you or diminishes you. And that restraint is the mark of the superior. People are naturally drawn to strength they cannot pierce, and silence is the armor that keeps you untouchable. Human beings are wired by desire, not by logic. They crave what is dangled in front of them. They long for what is scarce, and they grow restless when something they once had slips from their grasp. The art of power, therefore, is not in constant giving nor in complete denial, but in the mastery of alternating between the two, strategic giving and withholding. It is the rhythm of offering and restraining, of granting and denying, that creates the deepest psychological grip over others. When you give everything freely, your time, your attention, your resources, you devalue what you offer. Just as an overflowing fountain loses the reverence of its beauty because water is in endless supply, your abundance becomes ordinary. People stop appreciating it, and soon they stop noticing it altogether. But when you pull back, when you suddenly stop the flow, when you withhold what they once thought was guaranteed, you awaken their hunger. They become unsettled, restless, and desperate to win back what they assumed would always be there. Strategic giving works not because of what is given, but because of the timing and the manner in which it is presented. A man who constantly compliments is ignored, but the man who rarely does and suddenly offers praise makes the recipient feel as though they've received a priceless treasure. The same applies to your presence, your knowledge, your energy. A sudden act of generosity or a carefully chosen moment of attention becomes unforgettable precisely because it was not routine. The scarcity of the act magnifies its value. Withholding, on the other hand, is not punishment. It is training. When you step back, when you deny access, when you hold back your approval or your resources, you force others into a state of pursuit. They become addicted to chasing what you have temporarily withdrawn. Their minds replay every interaction, wondering what they did wrong, what they must do to regain your favor. In this way, you shift the balance of power. Instead of you chasing their validation, they chase yours. Instead of you proving your worth, they strive to prove theirs. This principle is visible in every corner of human life. In relationships, the partner who is always available, who always bends, who always gives, eventually loses respect. But the partner who withdraws at the right moments, who does not reward every demand, who withholds affection until it is earned, becomes the one who is valued most. In leadership, the superior who constantly rewards employees with praise, favors, and opportunities dulls the effect of those rewards. But the leader who withholds, who grants recognition sparingly and strategically, creates a hunger in his followers that keeps them striving tirelessly for approval. There is also an element of psychological conditioning here. By alternating between giving and withholding, you replicate the same pattern that creates addiction. The human brain is most hooked not on consistent rewards, but on unpredictable ones. Casinos thrive on this principle. The slot machine does not reward every spin, nor does it never reward. It pays out unpredictably. This unpredictability drives players into obsession, always waiting for the next reward, always convinced it will come if they persist. When you embody this principle in your interactions, you turn your presence into a form of psychological currency that others cannot stop chasing. But for this strategy to be effective, it must be done with subtlety. If you appear calculated, if your giving and withholding seem manipulative, others may resist or rebel. The art lies in making it appear natural. A sudden act of generosity should feel spontaneous, even if it was planned. A withdrawal of attention should seem like the result of your busy life, not a punishment. The more effortless it looks, the more powerful its effect. The rhythm between giving and withholding also establishes boundaries without you ever needing to state them. When you do not reward bad behavior with attention, when you withhold your time from those who do not respect it, you silently teach others how to treat you. Conversely, when you strategically reward loyalty, effort, or respect, you reinforce the behaviors you want repeated. Over time, people learn that your approval is not free. It must be earned. And in that earning, they invest themselves more deeply in you. Strategic giving and withholding is not only about controlling others, it also preserves your energy. By not being endlessly available, you conserve your resources, your time, your focus. You become selective, and in this selectivity, you increase your own power. People will feel the weight of every gesture you make because it is rare. They will crave your approval because they cannot predict it. They will adjust their actions to align with your expectations, even if you never voice them aloud. The deepest fear in every human heart is not rejection, it is replacement. To be discarded and substituted by another is the ultimate wound to pride and self-importance. People can tolerate absence, they can even tolerate rejection. But when they see that someone else has taken their place, it burns in a way that no insult ever could. This is why the law of replacement is one of the most powerful strategies for making yourself valuable and irreplaceable. It is not simply about being important. It is about creating the perception that your absence leaves a void no one else can fill. The law of replacement operates on two fronts. The first is ensuring that you occupy a position of necessity in the lives of others, where your skills, presence, or influence are difficult to substitute. The second is making others quietly aware that, should you wish, they themselves are replaceable. It is this balance, being seen as essential while subtly reminding others of their own fragility, that forges true power. To make yourself irreplaceable, you must develop a unique position. This does not mean being the loudest, nor does it mean being the most agreeable. Irreplaceability comes from offering something others cannot easily replicate. It may be knowledge, presence, loyalty, vision, or control. But whatever it is, it must feel scarce. People must sense that if they lose you, they cannot simply find another to take your place. This does not happen by accident. It requires deliberate cultivation of strengths, the sharpening of abilities, and the discipline to withhold parts of yourself so that others never see you as ordinary. At the same time, the law of replacement demands that you never allow yourself to be trapped in dependency. If people know you cannot survive without them, they gain leverage over you. True power lies in positioning yourself as both desired and independent. This independence silently whispers that you could leave at any time, that you could replace them, if necessary. The knowledge that you are not bound makes them cling tighter, because they realize the risk of losing you is real. Relationships of all kinds, romantic, social, professional, are governed by this law. In romance, when one partner fears that another can easily find someone else, they become desperate to hold on. In business, when an employer knows that an employee's skills are rare, they do everything to keep them. In friendships, when someone senses you are respected and sought after by others, they compete to maintain your bond. People value most what they believe they cannot easily replace. The most dangerous mistake is to allow yourself to be seen as entirely dependent. When you are the one who cannot let go, who cannot imagine life without another, you place yourself in the weakest position. You signal that they can replace you, but you cannot replace them. The balance of power immediately shifts in their favor, and you will be treated as disposable. This is why mastery of the law of replacement requires a cold discipline. You must always cultivate the image of being needed, while never being needy. A critical aspect of this law is demonstration. It is not enough to say you are irreplaceable. You must show it through actions. When others see that you have influence outside of them, when they watch others respect you, they sense that your presence commands attention wherever you go, they begin to believe that losing you would be a catastrophe. Simultaneously, if they see that you can cut off those who disrespect you, if they witness you walking away from those who take you for granted, they understand the danger of being on the wrong side of you. History is filled with rulers, generals, and leaders who embodied this law. A wise ruler surrounded himself with advisors, but never allowed any single one to believe he was indispensable. He made each advisor aware that there were others who could step into their place at any time. Yet at the same time, he crafted his own image as irreplaceable to the people, an image that ensured loyalty, fear, and obedience. The people believed that without him, the kingdom would collapse, and so they begged for his presence. But his advisors always knew that if they crossed him, Their own seats could be filled by another without hesitation. Psychologically, the fear of replacement keeps people bound. It gnaws at their pride, it haunts their imagination, it drives them into submission. When they believe you are irreplaceable, they treat you like a scarce jewel. When they believe they are replaceable in your eyes, they cling desperately to maintain their standing. This twofold manipulation keeps you at the center of power, while those around you orbit in fear of being discarded. Would you like me to now weave all 4 expanded keynotes into a continuous, flowing script introduction body, so it reads like a full Machiavellian speech instead of separate sections? Power is not taken by chance, nor is respect given freely. It is engineered, carefully and deliberately, through the choices you make and the way you carry yourself. To be valued, to be desired, to be seen as irreplaceable, you cannot live like the ordinary man who gives too much, explains too much, and accepts too little in return. You must bend human psychology to your will, shaping how others perceive you. Scarcity teaches them that your presence is not guaranteed and therefore must be treasured. Silence and control cloak you in mystery, giving your every gesture the weight of authority. Strategic giving and withholding condition others to crave your attention, addicted to the unpredictable rhythm of your approval. And through the law of replacement, you place yourself in a position where they cannot imagine life without you. Yet they live in quiet fear that they themselves could be replaced at any moment. When these principles are woven together, you become more than a participant in the games of power. You become the one who sets the rules. Others may chase, others may beg, others may scramble for significance, but you remain untouchable, defined by discipline and strategy. The world does not reward those who make themselves common. It rewards those who craft themselves into something rare, mysterious, and irreplaceable. And when you embody that, people will not simply want you, they will beg for you. Do you want me to also write a medium-length quote, in Machiavellian style, that can serve as a powerful takeaway line for this script?